Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the pulse of Husker Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my gut reaction to Nebraska's 31-14 victory over the Boilermakers, moving the Huskers to 5-3 on the season. Now, the Huskers have now won 5 of their last 6 games. If that makes you as happy as it makes me, then smash that like button. But alas, there was some drama throughout the game. We couldn't just, go out and steamroll. And why? Because we're a young team with a lot of injuries and we got to get better. But man, I tell you what, this showed us what Nebraska football can become under Matt Rule. It also showed us where we are and how much better we need to get all in the same game. But right now, a win is a win. With the injuries that we've got, with the youth that we've got on the offensive side of the ball, first year under Matt Rule, 5-3 is an overall record. Like, we're legit in the conversation to win the Big Ten West somehow. That's crazy to me. And winning 5 of our last 6 games. All right, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Opening kickoff. Why not? Let's make it interesting. Unfortunately, we fumble it. Okay, luckily, Purdue's quarterback, lost the ball behind him. Okay, and the defense stood tall and prevented the Boilermakers from getting any points off of that turnover. Now, at that point in time, this is the stat I wrote down. Okay, a lot more football game after that, obviously. That was our 19th fumble of the year, okay, which leads the country. All right, we had more fumbles throughout the game, but we're going to get to those later on. Now, the Blackshirts played strong. To say they played strong is an insane understatement. They played great. The D-line played well, okay. Now, our first scoring drive of the game. What a drive. Just good, solid football in this particular drive. All right, 15 plays, 87-yard drive, took 8:52 off the clock. The longest scoring drive the Huskers have had since 2017. And that scoring drive actually ended in a field goal. The one today ended in a touchdown. Now, our second score to put us up 14-0 was another option pass. Man, it's a thing of beauty. I tell you what. Heinrich Haarberg's 73-yard touchdown pass to Jalen Lloyd. All right. Longest pass of the season and the third longest play from scrimmage. Just the third play over 70 yards the Huskers have had this year. Now, when you start to think about some of the guys on this team and some of the youth on this offense, all right, you got a speedster, Jalen Lloyd. Speed. And this is a kid from West Side High School, all right, in Omaha, freshman. Another freshman, as we know, okay, Malachi Coleman getting the start. From Nebraska, young guys from Nebraska. Obviously, our starting quarterback from Kearney. He's a sophomore. He's an underclassman. All right, a lot of young, talented Nebraska guys on this team. Okay, now our defense really throughout the day didn't give up any big plays, really. I know Purdue had the one touchdown pass a little bit later on, but the defense really didn't give up any big plays in the first half. And I tend to go from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. If you've never seen a gut reaction of mine, in the first half, I would consider our offense to be consistent. Okay, when you think about the amount of new starters and the amount of young guys, I would take that performance in the first half. We had 89,422 fumbles, and I'm rounding down in the second half, and we had a couple in the first half as well. Okay, but there's just a lot of young talent out there. There's going to be a learning process, a growing process, and in my mind, I think we're a little bit more explosive. There's going to be the ceiling is higher and the floor is lower, as we saw today, when you got youth, talent, but inexperience on the offensive side of the ball. All right, now Purdue had the ball at one point in the first half on our side of the 50. We got an INT to shut down that drive. I want to mention that they did honor one of my former teammates, okay, former Husker punter Kyle Larson. If you were at the game today in the stadium, I thought that was pretty cool. Now, as you go to halftime, here are some of the stats. I always pick out interesting stats that stick out to me at halftime. This is something they showed on the TV. Okay, our last winning season was 2016. The last time we finished in the AP Top 25 was 2012. And our last conference title, as most people know, is 1999. I don't share that to be a damper. I share that because I think some of those streaks are going to be broken here in the near future. Okay, and we'll see, how exactly that plays out this year, next year, the year after that. All right, now some interesting stats from the first half. We actually converted over 50% of our third downs. We were 4 of 7 when it came to total yards. Purdue had 103, we had 183. Yards per pass. This was interesting. Purdue was averaging 2.9, if I can read that, yards per pass, well, we were averaging 15.1. Obviously, the long touchdown pass helped us there. Rushing attempts, we had ran the ball 21 times to this point. All right, and total yards per rush was actually low for us, 3 yards per rush, and actually high for our opponents. Purdue was averaging 3.8 yards per rush at the half. Heinrich Harburg was 5 of 8. Not a ton of passing. I'll get back to that in a second. But a high completion percentage at that point. Also 2 touchdowns to no INTs. His 5 completions, by the way, all went to 5 different pass catchers. All right, Jalen Lloyd with the 73-yard touchdown catch. All right, Joshua Fleeks, Jaden Doss, Ty Hahn, and Thomas Fedoni, who had another touchdown reception as well. Here's a couple of interesting stats I thought you folks might find interesting. Nebraska held Purdue scoreless in the first quarter, marking the 5th time this season Nebraska has shut out the opponent in the first quarter. In its past 7 games against the Big Ten West opponents, Nebraska has allowed just 3 total points in the first quarter, shutting out 6 of the 7 opponents in the first quarter, including 3 of 4 this year. All right, in its last 7 games against the Big Ten West opponents, Nebraska has only allowed 1 touchdown in the first half and just 16 total points. Also, Bryce Benhart has played better this year. Sometimes your name is only called in specific positions if you're playing poorly. Yes, he can do better, but when you look at how he played last year versus how he's played this year, there's a noticeable improvement. So I feel like that should be noted. But here's another thing that's interesting about Bryce. Right tackle Bryce Benhart made his 37th career start at right tackle. That total ties Zach Wiggert for the 3rd most starts at right tackle in Nebraska history. All right, second half starts. All right, Huskers' first second half drive. Well, why don't we just go ahead and lose a fumble? Make it interesting. We can't build too big a lead. That'd be, not enough drama, right? All right, the defense dominates, shuts down Purdue's offense, and the Blackshirts stood strong a couple of times. All right, eventually Purdue did score, obviously. One of their scores was a defensive fumble recovery for a touchdown, but they did prevent Purdue from scoring multiple times when Purdue had a shorter field. All right, now, Purdue had a field goal attempt. Nebraska's Elijah Judy blocks the field goal. Quentin Newsom takes it 68 yards to the house, baby. All right, bonus points to Newsom, by the way. This would not be bonus points had he gotten a flag thrown, but there was no flag thrown. Bonus points to Newsom for high-fiving a teammate on the way into the end zone, putting Nebraska up 21-0. Now, at that point in time, we had ran 36 plays on offense, exactly 27 runs, 9 passes, exactly 3-to-1 run to pass ratio. Now, I'll be honest with you, okay? I put out this tweet. Go check me out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, #cheap plug. All right, we have 3 times as many running plays as we do pass plays right now on offense. I'm more than okay with that. This team reminds me, I'm not saying they're great, okay? I'm not saying they're a great team, but there are aspects of this team that remind me of the physical, run-the-ball-oriented, and great defensive-minded teams that I just like to watch in general, especially when they're wearing the red and the Nebraska N on their helmet. Now, another tweet that was sent to me, shout out to Grant Gaither. Guy's been a big fan of mine for years, big supporter, I should say. All right, the firepower is there. Just talking about our offense. Just have to continue helping our line with play calling and improve on fundamentals. And then he goes, I can't imagine how proud you and all the former Blackshirts are of the defense. Hey, you nailed it. That's why I read the tweet. All right, Tom Osborne. Earlier this week, went on 93.7 The Ticket. Check them out. They're doing phenomenal stuff at 93.7 The Ticket. It helps that I'm on there as well, but they're doing great at either way. Osborne said he thinks the option game could work in today's college football. And he went on to note that not many teams are doing it. So anytime you run something unique, it's harder to prepare for you. I completely agree. Also, when you think about recruiting, if nobody else is recruiting those types of players, how much easier would it be to recruit those types of players to a place like Nebraska that is known for option football? I know, random sidebar in the middle of a game reaction. I just thought it was interesting, his comments, and I hadn't put out my thoughts on his comments yet because I totally and completely 100% agreed with him. All right, now, as I mentioned earlier, Nebraska has won 5 of their last 6 games. Here's why I'm stating that stat again. Because at one point earlier this year, if you went back a season or two, in our last 20 games, at that point, I think it was after the Colorado game, I'd have to go back and double check. In our last 20 games, we had 4 wins and 16 losses. My God, am I glad the tide has at least turned a little bit so far. All right, I will say this. We got to take care of the ball That starts with Harburg. It starts with anybody who touches the ball. Okay, but I love Harburg's mentality and his physicality. Yes, he has things to improve on, but I love his attitude and effort. This was a hard-hitting game on both sides. My wife even commented, Purdue feels a little bit dirty. Well, when your head coach is a former CU guy who got trucked in a Nebraska game in 2006 by Josh Mueller, shout out to my former teammate, he's going to harbor some bad feelings because CU, we're probably going to end up with a better record than them. Haha. Now, all right, this was a hard-hitting game. Purdue, pregame, some of their players came out shirtless, and they were doing a whole lot of this, all right? Let's see, 12:23 left in the fourth quarter. Freshman Tristan Alvano, I was so excited for this, the kicker. Another freshman from Omaha, aka in Nebraska, a lot of young talent from Nebraska, a lot of young talent in this team, period. Made a 55-yard field goal attempt. I was so happy to see this. His last two field goals have been makes of 47 and 55 yards. I think this guy's starting to get some momentum. That put Nebraska up 24-0. Okay, now, interesting stat I saw during the game. If this doesn't get you excited about where Nebraska football not only is, but where it's going, okay, and we're going to address the 9,000 fumbles here in a second. The Big Ten Conference, all right, the Huskers offense leads the Big Ten Conference, coming into the game anyways, in rushing yards, okay, per game, and first in the Big Ten in yards per rush. Our defense, first in the Big Ten Conference in rush yards allowed per game, and first in the Big Ten Conference in yards allowed per rush. Okay, you got to like the direction this program is going as a general whole. All right, fourth quarter. Time to make the game. It wasn't interesting enough, I guess. Time to make it interesting. All right, fourth quarter. About 9:50 left in the game. Harburg lost a fumble on our 25-yard line, the fourth fumble of the game at that point in time. Our third lost fumble at that point in time. All right, Purdue ends up scoring the touchdown on a short field. The failed two-point conversion made it 24-6. With about 8 minutes left to go in the game, quarterback Jeff Sims comes into the game. I was happy to see him out there. It wasn't pretty. Nebraska, 4th and 1, Sims fumbles, returned by Purdue, 55 yards for a touchdown, converts a two-point attempt, 24-14, and immediately I got a bunch of people tweeting me, what's going on, Adam? How can this lead not be safe? Honestly, I did feel like the lead was safe because of our defense, but I was like, what the blue hell is going on? I was right there with you. Now, I believe we ended up, I'd have to go back and double check this, but I believe we ended up with 5 fumbles on the day, 4 lost by Nebraska. Okay, the most in a single game since 2020 versus Rutgers. All right, now with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Emmett Johnson pretty much sealed the game. All right, great blocking as well. 28-yard touchdown run, put Nebraska up 31-14. This was the first win. This was the first win since 2012 when the Huskers held an opponent under 100 rush yards and under 100 pass yards. Purdue had only 195 yards total. Final thoughts on this game. We were way better than Purdue, even with the young guys on offense, even with 1,400 injuries. The turnovers were really the only thing that made it interesting for a while. We have got to clean up. You can't be an option team. You can't run the ball and be effective as a team if you're constantly fumbling, whether it's a kick return, a punt return, the quarterback, the backup quarterback, whoever it may be. You've got to learn to take care of the ball. Maybe that's why Harburg doesn't pitch it very much. I don't know, and I'm not trying to take a shot. It just entered my mind. Maybe that's why he doesn't pitch. He's trying to be safe. I don't know. Even though a lot of these weren't even on pitches on the option. You got to be happy with 5-3. You got to be happy with winning 5 out of the last 6. You got to be happy with how Nebraska football looks compared to the amount of injuries, the youth, the talent that's there. Yeah, we got to get better. We got to take care of the ball better on offense. There are things the offense has to do better. We didn't hit 300 yards of total offense. We have some explosive capability. We're not consistently good. We got to keep the ball off the turf. It's all right there. All right, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to our sponsor, DPS Concrete Construction. Legit, great company. They do great work. Okay, they are your local concrete experts. Jason Armstrong, who runs the company, does a great job. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. All right, here are my 3 questions. Hit me up in the comments below. Is this the best you felt about Husker football in the present and going forward in the future in a long time? Yeah, even with the fumbles, I'm still going to put that question out there. Let me know in the comments below. Number 2, is it time to realistically start talking? I have not done much yet of this. Is it realistically time for me, if you want to hear me, start talking about competing for and or possibly winning the Big Ten West, especially with a very winnable remaining schedule with the teams on that schedule? Let me know in the comments below. And what is your biggest concern for this team right here, right now for this year in the last few games that we've got? Is it injuries or is it turnovers? For me, it's fumbles, and it's pretty easy. But let me know in the comments below. All right, as always, check out CarrikerChronicles.com. I guarantee John Johnston, hopefully he's not in the bathroom recording his reaction video. I guarantee he's recording one. I guarantee Doc Talk, Travis Justice, they'll be doing a video. Connor Hayden of Coronation. We got all sorts of guys. I'm chatting with Chancellor Brewington. He wants to put his stuff up on our site, former Husker as well. Okay, lots of other great people as well. Check out CarrikerChronicles.com. Until next time, Husker Nation, go Big Red, and always remember to throw the bug.